Hello, welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading Smart Money Woman by Arese. We're currently in chapter 10, and in the last chapter we learned that it's important to have the difficult questions regarding wills and who gets what when in case somebody changes address. So yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to support us. Thank you. So to chapter 10. Chapter 10, the long game, investing. Almost a day is super cool, Tishola had reassured Zuri when they had talked about setting up the meeting to which she was currently headed. Still, as she waited for the elevator to take her to the 17th floor, she had to admit to herself that she was nervous. She had Googled the girl and was slightly intimidated about what she had discovered about the young, brilliantly accomplished woman who had agreed to speak with her about something that terrified her, if ever so slightly. Mosede had an MBA from Stanford and a first degree from Oxford. Ooh, fancy. She had worked for several investment banks as well. To put it mildly, and was, to put it mildly, a brain. As head of private banking at Concord Capital, her clients were typically high net worth individuals. Although the bank had a retail investment management arm that catered to the most modest income brackets Zuri belonged to. Omosede had agreed to have a chat with Zuri to point her in the right directions after a phone call with Tishola. Zuri sat in a slightly chilly reception area and glanced at her watch. I hope this isn't one of those meetings where you spend an hour waiting only to spend 15 minutes in actual conversations. This was one of her pet peeves about working in Nigeria. Zero respect for other people's time. She had been sent to Abuja once to meet with a prospective client, and he had told her to come at 10 a.m., insisting that she shouldn't be late, only to make her wait 3 hours for a meeting that took 10 minutes, without so much as an apology. She glanced around, noticing the subtle yet high-end design of the space, where she saw a familiar, dark-skinned woman walking toward her with a big smile. She exuded an appealing confidence, kitted out in a striking dark pink knee-length dress with a structured top section reminiscent of a dress from a recent Roland Moret collection. It was a very casual color for a woman in finance to be rocking on a Wednesday. Pink was not your typical go-to color for women in her field. To crown her look was a gorgeous weave that was bone straight, dark, long enough that it was skimming her lower back. Her hair's amazing. I wonder if it's Peruvian. Hello, Zuri. Great to see you again, she greeted. I hope you haven't been waiting long. Oh no, it's fine. It's barely been 5 minutes. Thank you so much for taking time to see me. I know you must be very busy. Oh, it's fine. Anything for Tishola, Mosede said, with a slightly teasing smile. Let's get into my office. Zuri walked through the glass door into Omosede's stunning workplace, dominated by white furniture with mustard yellow accents. On her pale cream desk sat a mustard-colored picture frame and ornament. The sofa facing the window was gleaming white leather with yellow throw pillows. The view from the ceiling to floor window showing off the Lagos skyline was absolutely breathtaking. And most of them must be pretty important to to have an office like this. Tea, coffee, juice, Omosede offered. No, thank you. Okay, let's begin then. Omosede said as she gestured for Zuri to have a seat. Tishola says you would like to start investing and want pointers as to how to get started. Zuri nodded. Okay, so what's your investment history? What do you typically invest in? Stocks, bonds? Omosede asked. Zuri took a deep breath. To be honest, I'm a beginner. I have only ever invested in fixed deposits and never consistently. Even then, it was only because I had a really pushy account officer who had target to meet and convinced me to invest my Christmas bonuses. But the interest is usually small and meaningless. So I'm like, why bother? When my 500,000 sits in the account for 90 days and all I have to show for it is a measly 30,000 naira. What's the point? Omosede nodded knowingly as she jotted some notes down on a legal pad. Don't worry, I know the kind you mean. The thing is, you have to have a more patient attitude to investing. The typical Nigerian is looking for the next big deal to keep to make a killing. They want to hit. So if someone is talking about investment opportunities with a 4% return, they say, what's the point? It's too small. But the point of this kind of investment is compounding interest. Basically, making interest on interest already earned. The key is to start early and stay consistent. That makes more sense. The interest earned is added to the original amount and earns interest of its own, and so on and so on and so forth, right? Zuri said contemplatively. Right. Obviously, there are other asset classes, better known as investment, that may have a higher return, but with more risk. So I take it you've never invested in stocks before, Omosede said with a weary smile. I've heard too many horror stories. In fact, my friend's father lost a lot of money in the Nigerian stock market in 2008. So I've always been too scared. The idea of stock or bonds just sounds convoluted. They are really not as complex as you think, but I'll break it down as we go along. She leaned in conspiratorially. Let me tell you a secret. The wealthiest people in the world make relatively simple investments. They typically invest in things that they understand, and it all boils down to what your goals are. Zuri nodded. That sounds like a great philosophy. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to me. No problem. Let's establish a few things. What's your net worth? Net worth? Zuri looked puzzled. I have absolutely no clue. I think it's zero, she thought, but she didn't want to say that out loud. I earn about 7.2 million per annum, but I have no clue what my net worth is. Actually, no one has ever asked me that question. Isn't that a question reserved for people on the Forbes list like Dangote? Or at least people who are even remotely rich and have made some real money. Omosade smiled. First of all, I want you to feel comfortable because everything we discuss here is confidential and there's absolutely no judgment. I promise. These questions are just so we have a starting point and can track your progress over time. I know people typically measure financial success by how much they earn, the income they get in salary from their jobs or business. However, your net worth is the true measure of how wealthy you are because building wealth is ultimately not about how much you earn, but how much of your income you are able to convert to assets that can provide you with an income in the future. Are you with me so far? Omosede asked. Yes, I think so. So you mean how much of my income I can convert to assets like property and stock, that kind of thing? Zuri replied. Yes, exactly, almost as he said. Zuri showed her frustration with a situation that felt very unfair. But property is so expensive and stock are so risky. For example, the flat I live in costs 70 million. Flat I live in cost about 70 million, and it will probably take me forever. Are you with me so far? Omosede asked. Yes, I think so. So you mean how much of my income I can convert to assets like property and stock? That kind of thing, Zuri replied. Yes, exactly, Omosede said. Zuri showed her frustration with a situation that felt very unfair. But property is so expensive and stocks are so risky. For example, the flat I live in cost about 70 million and it would probably take me forever and a day to buy. This is the problem I have always had with all this investing stuff. It sounds good in theory to say buy assets. However, the reality is these assets are expensive. It's not as if it's beans to buy a house in Lekki Phase 1, Suri joked. Girl, slow your roll. Almost a day smiled. This is the part I find amusing. People will go from 0 to 100 in a flash. Lekki Phase 1, you didn't even say Korodu. Let's just take baby steps and start with areas your income can support. What does she mean by that? What does she take Ikorodu for? Anyways, Zuri laughed. Right, where should I start? You work in real estate, so you're aware of growth area, like along the Lekki Ekpe Expressway. They are much more affordable and have immense growth potential. There are a few real estate companies we work with who offer payment plan for much cheaper real estate opportunities. Even though it's pretty far from the main city in terms of distance, the area is going to blow up in the next 5 to 10 years. Zuri in agreement. It was a solid assessment. Anyway, we are skipping a few steps. We'll start with the basics. You earn 7.2 million annually. What's your monthly income and how much disposable income do you have to invest? I earn 600,000 a month after taxes and I've been consistently setting aside 20% of my income for a month now. It's not a lot, but what can I invest in? You know, we offer investment products with entry points of as little as 50,000 naira. So the amount is not a big issue. What's important at this stage is establishing your investment goals and devising an investment strategy that matches your goals. Almost as they said, there is no one size fits all approach to investing. Everyone has different financial obligation, earning potential and risk profile. Zuri held up her hands. Now you've lost me. I'm not familiar with these terms. Let me give you an example. Take two women, Amaka and Chichi. We both earn 200,000 a month. Amaka has been saving 50% of her salary for the last 3 months and decides to invest in the stock market. She buys XYZ stock at 180,000 naira per share, and after a few months, the stock price rose to 203. She is so excited as she shares the good news with Chichi. Chichi has been looking for ways to make money outside of her salary, so she goes ahead and also invests the money she has been saving in XYZ stock. Most people tend to make the mistake of saying, Mr. Lagbaja made this investment and made a killing, so I'll make it too. That's Me Too approach to making an investment decision is what often leads to a lot of people losing money because they didn't take the time to really look at how they were investing. Amaka and Chichi may earn the same monthly salary, but their circumstances are different. Amaka is 25, lives with her parents, and has little to no obligation. Her expenses for the month mostly comprises of fuel for her car and credit for her phone. By choosing to buy stocks, she's buying equity or a fraction of ownership of the company. It's relatively high-risk investment, but historically, it gives better returns in the long run than other types of investment or assets. The longer her money is invested, the higher the average rate of return. Since she has zero to no obligations and age is on her side, she can afford to take the risk of investing a huge portion of her earnings in the stock market in the long run. Clear so far? Yes, it is. Omosede continued. Chichi, on the other hand, is 32 and married with 2 children under the ages of 7. Her husband's income is inconsistent. Therefore, she has a great deal of financial responsibilities. She's partly responsible for paying rent and school fees. Chichi had been saving that money towards those payments, but was looking for faster ways to grow her money. That was a bad move because if the price of XYZ stock goes down, so will the value of her investment. Since she needed the money in the short term, this was not really a good investment to make for her situation. Zuri realized what Omosede was trying to teach her. I think I see where you are going with this. So basically, what I invest in depends on why I'm investing and where I need to be with money and cash flow. Exactly. So let's talk a bit about what your investment goals are. Why do you want to invest? Zuri knew exactly what she wanted. The last few months had been a wake-up call. I want financial security. I want the house I make to translate to. I want the money I make to translate to something bigger in the future. And I want to make enough money to maintain my lifestyle. You have to be a little bit more specific, Omosede said. Well, I'd like to own property and start building a stock portfolio. But I'd also like to go on holidays. And I need a new car. Zuri rushed out in one breath. Omosede smiled. Here's the thing. You have to make choices, prioritize, and start slowly. Your resources are limited, and you still have rent to pay. You eventually be able to do them, but not all at once. For example, you probably can't afford to save and invest towards a car and a holiday at the same time on the salary of 600,000, but we can start working towards those goals. Baby steps, got it. So, how do I develop an investment strategy? It sounds complex. It really doesn't have to be. It's basically a fancy word of saying this is how you approach achieving your goals. It doesn't have to be complicated. You just set benchmarks. It could be simple. It could be as simple as saying to yourself, I want to own property in the next 5 to 10 years. I have found land that costs 1 million, so I'll put 20% of my income in a money market fund towards reaching that goal. When I've bought the land, I'll start investing that 20% in a mix of stock and treasury bills until I have 2 million to put towards developing the property. Zuri was now officially an Omosede fan. Can I just say I'm obsessed with you? You make this stuff so easy to understand. She smiled at the compliment. I try, Omosede said. Why did I use that one? This thing is ideally what we want long term is for you to build a diversified portfolio and decide your asset allocation. You have started with the finance speak again. The finance speak again is what they wrote, don't blame me. Zuri said, break it down for your sister. Basically, long term, We don't want you putting all your eggs in one basket. You ideally should have a mix of investment. For example, if the stock market isn't doing well, your investment in treasury bills, a less risky asset, give you access to more liquid assets. Liquid means you can readily turn it into cash. Your asset allocation is basically a way of saying this is the proportion of my income that will go to each asset class. For example, a ratio of 40, 20, 30, 20. What am I reading? A ratio of 40, 20, 20, 20 means 40% in real estate, 20% in each in treasury bills, stock, and bonds. I think I get it. But what are the steps? But what are the next steps? Zuri asked. Well, I think you have some thinking to do, and I'll give you some forms to fill to determine your investment goals, your risk profile, how much you have available to invest, and then we can develop an investment plan for you and match your goals to some funds we have at Concord to help you achieve your goals. Zuri settled in her chair and filled the form over the next hour, peppering Omosede with more questions. It was one of the best things she had ever done for herself. As the Uber driver drove through the gate of Tishola's apartment building, Zuri wondered what exactly he had planned for the evening. She had sent him a text after her meeting with Omosede to say how excited she was about her investment goals, and he had called her hours later, suggesting that they celebrate over dinner at his this evening. She figured he was trying to make up for his absence because the last few weeks had been slightly tough on their relationship in terms of communication and spending time with each other. Tishola had just begun the intense but rewarding CEP course at Lagos Business School, meant for CEOs, chairpersons, and managing directors of business, with an annual turnover of 1 billion naira. Woo! Tishola go! And between 50 to 100 employees. He was a huge proponent for self-development and was determined to get the best from the course, but between classes, meetings, and work, they weren't getting a lot of us time. She wasn't complaining either, because she had been busy trying to get her money life together. After the Wimbies, it had become apparent that she had to find ways to earn more, and her meeting with Omosede had only reinforced that. She had spent the last couple of weeks writing business plans and having strategy meetings with Mrs. Abafo Williams to discuss how exactly to get started becoming an entrepreneur, start a side business, or seek a promotion at Richmond, which, to be perfectly blunt, she thought was highly unlikely given the current economic situation. As she rang the doorbell, the smell of food wafted from the kitchen. Had he ordered takeout? Zuri wondered. Dominic, Tishola's cook from Cotonou, made a mean beef in black pepper sauce, but the aroma something was more sublime. Tishola opened the door and gave her a kiss on her as she walked in. Hello, darling. You're going to faint when you see the surprise I have for you. He took her hand and led her to the living room, to the terrace, set up like it was straight out of a romance movie. Tea lights and candles were everywhere, and in the center stood a table for two with a stunning view of Lekki Ikoyi Bridge as a picture kill backdrop. In the middle was an ice bucket with a bottle of ice cold Lorette Perry wine. I could swear that is Chef Reg's standing over the table holding a menu, she thought as she walked towards the gorgeously set table. He was a Nigerian chef trained at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. He did the most amazing things with traditional Nigerian food, giving them a modern twist. She low-key stalked him on Instagram. Zuri turned to Tishola with a look of surprise in her face. Tishola, is that Chef Freg's? Yep. Tishola looked pleased. I wanted to do something special for you because I know you are mildly obsessed with him and his food. Instagram stalker. He teased, poking her ribs. Oh, I know we haven't hung out properly in a few weeks, but between LBS and the deal I'm trying to close, it's been hectic and there hasn't been a lot of time for us, Tishola said. I wanted to make it up to you before you dump me. Zuri turned, put her hand around him and smiled. Easy, tiger. It's not as serious. I've been busy too, so I get it. Plus, I'm so proud of all the steps you're taking to improve your finances. Said as he held her hand and headed to the kitchen. Thanks, babes, Zuri replied. Chef Rex returned to the table and to present the evening's menu. Cocoa and chili braised short ribs with sweet potato mash, or the jollof burger and ugu. What? Dessert was a mango cheesecake with white chocolate cream and lime salted caramel. She was going to put on at least 5 pounds just thinking about it, but for the slice of heaven that was Chef Freg's food, it was worth it. It was so worth it. So how are you going with how did your meeting go with Omo today? Tishola asked. It was great. She was great. Guri gushed. I feel so much clearer about my goals. I think I'm going to start saving towards building a stock portfolio or maybe buying some land. I haven't decided yet. I just know I want to have an asset in place in the next 12 months. That's smart. Yeah, I know, Zuri said, quite pleased with herself. But I think I'm going to start saving towards buying a new car first though. This Uber life is getting expensive. It's great when it's once in a while, but I miss having my own car. I get it. What kind of car though? Shola asked. I'm not sure. Maybe a BMW like Lara. Not brand new, obviously, but something fairly used. Zuri, that's silly. You just got out of debt. You want to go back. His word touched a nerve. How is that silly? Lara drives one and it's a great car. First of all, you are not Lara and you do not have Lara's income, Tishola said. Secondly, Lara probably bought hers brand new or fairly used in America when the exchange rate was not what it is today. Zuri began to get annoyed. Yes, I'm aware I'm not Lara, but my income prospects are going to improve this year. That's exactly the problem. Wait till they improve first before you start investing in luxury cars. You just end up working for the car instead of the car working for you. Well, please hold on, sorry. Side note, is this really a time for this conversation? You guys have a romantic backdrop there. What's going on? Back to reading. Do you know how much it costs to foil the car or replace the parts when there is a mechanical issue? You better ask Lara the cost of maintaining it and then double it because if you buy that car second hand in Nigeria, it will be at the mechanic shop every other month. Fair point though. That's a fair point. I really don't understand why people do this. Why not buy a car your income can support? I'm sure you can save towards a brand new Toyota and the parts are easier to replace. Or do you want to go back to being broke? Me, I don't date broke women. No. I have done the whole date the broke and beautiful girl thing in the past and it's not cute. Zuri was livid. Side note, if I was her, I would be completely livid too. What the hell? Back to the reading. I don't understand why you are speaking to me as if I'm a child. This conversation is frankly very disrespectful. But it's not your fault. It's because was open and honest about my problems from the get-go. Broke and beautiful, Abby. Is that how you see me? Tishola, I have no words. Calm down, Zuri. Maybe that came out wrong, but I just don't want you going back down the wrong path. Tishola had begun to realize she was upset. A car is a depreciating asset. Didn't Omosede explain that to you? Once you drive it, it begins to lose value. So it makes no sense spending all your income trying to maintain a car your current salary can't support. Tishola tried to explain. Zuri was not having it and shut the conversation down. Listen, is enough. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm just going to order an Uber and take me home as soon as we are done eating. Thank you for the dinner. It was lovely. I'll drop you at home. No thanks. I need to be alone, Zuri replied. They ate in silence for the rest of the meal. Dun, dun, dun. Drum rolls. Smart money lesson. A few things to consider before you pop your investment cherry. The world of investing might seem daunting, I don't know. But like learning a new skill, it takes time and patience to understand. Here are my thoughts on how to start investing in Nigeria. Know your asset classes, types, and investment. 1. Stocks. I can't count the number of times I've heard I don't do stocks. Granted, the level of risk involved is not for everyone, but the stock market can be your friend, especially if you are young. The Nigerian stock market lists stocks of some of the best companies this country has to offer, and the criteria that has to be met for companies to be listed means that they have been thoroughly vetted. So they have corporate governance and audited accounts. If you can take the risk of investing in your friend's fish farm, you can take the risk of investing some of your long-term savings in the stock market. The saying "no one ever gets rich from saving accounts" holds true now more than ever because of the value of cash decreases over time due to inflation. Currently, about 15% in Nigeria. It is important to understand that even though stocks are volatile in the short run, you have historically risen in value in the long run. I am passionate about the growth prospect of Nigerian stock market. I believe it is a solid platform to build long-term wealth. In the words of Warren Buffett, when it comes to investing in stock, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Since people are wary of the Nigerian stock market, it is a good time to invest in good companies that are undervalued. I do not believe in borrowing money to buy stock, nor do I believe that the stock market is a money doubling scheme, which was the motivation for many people investment in 2007 when the market was at its peak. That is an easy way to get burnt, but I believe in systematically using money you can afford to forget about to build long-term wealth. Money you would have used to go shopping or buy credit for the month, not your money for rent or school fees. The credible rule when you invest is don't invest in anything you do not understand. You should always do your research. Ask some questions. Here are a few tips of how to get started. Subscribe to ProShare, www.proshareng.com. Pick a few stocks from different sectors to research. What do you like about the companies as businesses? What are their fundamentals? What are the fundamentals behind them? What are the growth prospects of the companies in the current economic climate? Do they have any durable competitive advantage? Do some research on the company's past performances, historic price, dividend yield, liquidity of the stock. Speak to an investment advisor or stockbroker about your findings. 2. Real estate. An investment in real estate in Nigeria is mostly always a good idea. It's a great long-term investment with a medium risk, decent cash flow, and a reasonable expectation of an increase in value, especially in growth areas. Real estate investment includes residential rental property, raw land, or commercial real estate business. An investment in real estate does have some distinct risk. It is possible for property value to go down as well as up, so you could lose some of your investment principal. The initial amount of money invested. Most of all, real estate is not a liquid investment. It may be hard to sell the property when you want to, leaving your money tied up when you need it. That said, real estate is a great asset to have, and most people know that, but are deterred from entering the market either because they think it's too expensive or are waiting to hit so they can build their own house to live in. However, it's better to find something that's your price range and just start. 3. Mutual funds. A mutual fund is an investment vehicle that is made up of a pool of funds collected from many investors for the purpose of investing in securities such as stocks, bonds, money markets, investments, and similar assets. Mutual funds are operated by money/fund managers who invest the fund capital and attempt to produce capital gains and income for the fund investors. The advantage of this is that an investor no longer has to worry about the day-to-day administrative issues that come with making investment decisions, as this is passed on to a professional fund manager. It gives small investors access to a professionally managed diversified portfolio. Mutual funds in Nigeria are mostly open-ended and affordable, which means that you can start with as little as 10,000 naira and liquidate at market value when you want to. Money market instruments, treasury bills. That's 4. Money market instruments are basically short-term securities like treasury bills, brackets, money you lend to the government, brackets close, or commercial paper, brackets, money lent to institution, brackets closed. Treasury bills are more common and arguably more secure. You cannot bid direct for treasury bills. You have to go through a broker, your bank, or a financial house. Nigerian treasury bills are usually sold bi-weekly, and upcoming primary auction are usually reported in the financial section of national newspapers. The CBN also publish a quarterly treasury bills auction calendar on their website. The interest rate is not fixed, but fluctuates based on demand, volume of bids, and supply amount offered by the central bank. Alternatively, you can look into investing in a money market fund. This is a specific type of mutual fund that invests in money market securities. It preserves your capital, pays you a return that is comparable to prevailing money market rates in Nigeria. 5. Establish your investment goals. That is not 5, that is just a heading. The crucial question is, why are you investing? This may be a more difficult question to answer than many people realize, because they haven't fully articulated what they want their money to do for them. Are you putting your money aside towards rent, a car, retirement, building assets? The reason you are investing will determine the kind of investment you make. For example, if you were investing towards your rent next year, the worst thing you can do is to say, let me invest my savings each month in the stock market. Stock can be very volatile, and your capital might be lower in value when you need it the most. A money market product or treasury bills might be a better option. However, if you are working a 9 to 5 job and were saving towards a business you plan to start in 5 to 10 years, then the stock market could be an option. There are no right or wrong answers. Your investment goals should reflect your financial obligation, when what you value most, and what you want your money to make, the money you make to be able to do for you, for your life in general. Subheading: Develop an investment strategy. It is important to write out your investment strategy to clearly articulate your thoughts. Once your strategy, why am I having? Once your strategy, mm, once your strategy is written, you should ensure it matches your long-term investment goals. Writing down your strategy. If I see strategy one more time, I am ending this. Once it gives, the code word for strategy is S. I'm not saying it again. Writing down your S gives you a plan slash guide to refer back to in times of chaos and help you avoid making emotional decisions. It also gives you something to review and changes if your investment goals change or you start earning more money. It doesn't have to be complicated. Even if you think what you have to start with is too little, begin with a savings account and start building it up. You can give yourself benchmark. Here's an example. You have to see this to understand. IV, go, buy land. 20% of salary deposited in savings account until 200,000 naira is saved. Take 200,000 naira and split. 100,000 naira for fixed deposit. 100,000 naira for stock portfolio. Repeat until fixed deposit reaches target amount. When fixed deposit equals 1 naira to 1.5 million range, buy land in Awoyaya. If possible, sit down with an investment advisor and discuss those goals and financial obligations you have mapped out so that they can match your goals with investment products or asset classes best suited for your lifestyle. If your goal is to build a house in 5 or 10 years and your financial obligation includes paying children's school fees and rent, you will want an investment advisor to match your goals with products and asset classes that will help you attain them. New subheading: Determine your risk profile. When people ask about investing, one of the most recurrent themes is the need for high returns. My money is in my savings account and it's giving me little interest. What can I invest in that will keep my money safe but grow it very fast? It doesn't work that way. You can't have both low risk and high returns. Simply, a low risk investment has lower potential for profit. A higher risk investment has a higher potential for profit, but also a potential for greater loss. You've heard the saying, no risk, no reward. There is a strong correlation between risk and return. The investment that offers the highest return in the long term also come along with a healthy measure of risk. For example, if you have 100,000 naira and you put it in savings account, treasury bills, or buy XYZ stock, chances are in 10 years your XYZ stock, through capital appreciation and dividend yield, will be worth more than savings or treasury bills. However, because stocks are volatile in nature, your XYZ stock could also be worth less. A conservative investor primary objective is to preserve the capital and receive regular income. They have a low tolerance for risk and hence a major chunk of their investment would be allocated to debt or money market mutual fund. A moderately aggressive investor is the one who is willing to take controlled risk for moderate returns. Such investors generally recommend are generally recommended a mix of balanced portfolio. Aggressive investors. Aggressive investors consider risk as an opportunity and leverage their experience and knowledge to take intelligent financial decisions. The major share of their investment therefore goes to growth and equity scheme. Pick an investment firm. Now you are ready to invest. Doing your own preliminary research on what investment options are available to you in Nigeria is great, but the reality is no matter how skilled you are in your business or line of work, you may not have the skill or patience required to pick the best investment for your situation. It is important to speak to a professional guide to guide you. Commercial banks offer some great savings products, but an investment firm gives you a wide range of investment options that include stock, bond, real estate, and other investment opportunities. At this point, you should have a clear idea of what your investment goals are, your financial obligation, how much you have in your budget to invest, and a fair idea of your risk profile. With all of this, I think you are armed with enough information to begin a conversation with an investment professional. Knowing what you want to achieve is key so that nobody can waylay you into investing in products or assets that are not in line with your goals. Even when they are professionals, don't let them dismiss your concerns or questions. Whether you are investing 100 naira or 100 million, now your money. You have every right to ask questions, and you should remember the cardinal rule: do not invest in things you do not understand. Moment of truth is a heading. Some investment firms will try to sell you on a product that might not be right for you, particular financial that will not be right for your particular financial situation based on their own selfish interest. Into brackets, if for example they have a mandate to sell the right issue of a particular stock, or they are getting commission for selling a particular product. This is why it is extremely important to be clear on your own investment goals and why you are investing in the first place, so they can appropriately match your goals to the products that are available. Make sure you choose a firm that will track record that would with a track record and an investment advisor you can honestly talk to about your financial situation. Knowing what you want is to achieve is key so that nobody can waylay you into investing in products or assets that are not in line with your goals. Even though they are professionals, don't let them dismiss your concerns or questions. Whether you are investing 100 naira or 100 million, now your money. You have the right to ask questions, and you should remember the cardinal rule: do not invest in things you do not understand. Questions you should ask your investment advisor. 1. Investment strategy. What is the asset what is their asset allocation strategy? What will they be investing your money in? Stocks, bonds, real estate? How diversified is the investment fund or product? What is the asset allocation mix or ratio? The product investment what i.e. the product investments in stocks, bonds, real estate and treasury bill proportion. For example, 10 to 20 to 40 to 30. 2. Ask them about risk. Talk to them about how much risk you are willing to take on. With some investments, there's a possibility of losing a portion of your principal. Although the return on these types of investments attracts better returns. Ask yourself if your lifestyle would change if the value of your principal investment went down. That will determine how much risk appetite you have. 3. Ask about profitability. What are your expected returns on the investment? Are the returns guaranteed, or is there a possibility of a reduction if the money conditions change? 4. Ask about liquidity. How much access do you have to the money invested? So if you decide to liquidate the investment prematurely, will there be penalties? If so, how much? 5. Ask about the tenor. How long is your money locked in for? You don't want to invest money you may need, so in a long-term instrument. You may need soon in a long-term instrument. That is the end of chapter 10. Please subscribe and like. Please. And we've learned a great deal about investment, and we have seen our dream man Tishola. We saw him fall our hand today with Zuri. Yeah, he was making a lot of sense in what he was saying about the cash he wanted to purchase. But really, there's a time and place for everything. That was not the right time. That was not the right place to dish out advice on how she decides to spend her money. It's not like she asked him for money. So yeah. See you in chapter 11. Have a great day. For me, I'll be having a great night.